the Atlantic Ocean. December 1872. The sea is restless, a gray mass of rolling swells stretching endlessly to the horizon. Above, the sky is pale, a winter sun casting cold light across the waves. On that morning, sailors aboard a Canadian brigantine named Dei Grazia spotted something strange. A ship, rocking silently on the current, its sails flapping loosely in the wind, its course erratic, its movement unnatural. As they drew closer, they saw the name painted on the stern: Mary Celeste, a vessel that should not have been there, alone. The captain of the Dei Grazia, David Morehouse, ordered a boarding party. They approached with caution, the ocean groaning beneath their small boat. When they climbed aboard, they found something no sailor ever expects. The ship was empty, no captain, no crew, no sign of struggle. The tables in the galley still held uneaten meals. The cargo was intact. The lifeboat was gone. But 12 people, the captain, his wife, their 2-year-old daughter, and 7 crewmen, had vanished into thin air. And the Mary Celeste drifted on. For more than a century, this ghost ship has haunted maritime history, a riddle carved into the waves, a story of fear, betrayal, and mystery. What happened on board the Mary Celeste? New York City, November 1872. The bustling harbor echoed with the creak of ropes, the slap of waves, the shouts of dockworkers hauling barrels. The Mary Celeste, a sturdy brigantine of nearly 300 tons, stood ready. Her destination, Genoa, Italy. Her cargo, 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol. At her helm was Captain Benjamin Briggs, a respected, God-fearing sailor, calm, competent, known for discipline. He had brought along his young wife, Sarah, and their toddler daughter, Sophia. To friends, it was a rare chance for a family to be together at sea. To others, it was reckless. A child on the open Atlantic was no place for innocence. The crew were handpicked, experienced sailors, men Briggs trusted. Among them was his first mate, Albert Richardson, and second mate, Andrew Gilling, a young man eager for opportunity. On November 7th, the Mary Celeste sailed out of New York Harbor. The crew waved to families on the docks. Mothers wept quietly. Wives stood in the cold wind, clutching shawls to their shoulders. Children pointed, watching the ship grow smaller. For them, it was supposed to be a journey like many others. Hard work, danger, yes, but with promise of safe return and pay in their pockets. None of them knew it would be their last goodbye. The voyage began smoothly. The crew worked in rhythm, adjusting sails, keeping watch. The captain's logbook, later recovered, showed precise notes. Briggs was methodical, disciplined. But the Atlantic is not a forgiving sea. By late November, storms lashed the Mary Celeste. Winds howled through the rigging. Rain pounded the deck. Waves crashed over the sides. The crew battled the elements, tying ropes, bailing water, fighting to keep control. And yet, Briggs recorded nothing unusual. His log was calm, routine. He mentioned weather, coordinates, minor repairs. No signs of panic, no hint of trouble. On November 24th, the Mary Celeste passed near the Azores, a group of Portuguese islands. Briggs logged his position. The ship was in good condition. Everyone was alive. That was the last entry he ever wrote. Days later, the ship would be found intact, drifting, abandoned. But what could make an experienced captain abandon a seaworthy ship, leaving behind cargo, possessions, even his family's clothing? What terror stalked those decks? December 5th, 1872. The brigantine Dei Grazia spotted the Mary Celeste drifting about 400 miles east of the Azores. At first, Captain Morehouse thought she looked strange, her sails loose, her course uneven. As they drew near, he recognized her name. Morehouse knew Briggs personally. The two captains were friends. Alarm bells rang immediately. He sent a boarding party. His first mate Oliver DeVoe and second mate John Wright. The men climbed aboard the Mary Celeste. Silence greeted them. The deck was deserted. The ship smelled of salt and emptiness. Below, they searched the cabins. The captain's quarters were neat, Briggs' personal belongings undisturbed. A woman's sewing machine lay idle. A child's toys scattered on a bunk. In the galley, a meal was left half-prepared. The lifeboat was missing. The ship's logbook ended abruptly on November 24th. And in the hold, nearly all 1,700 barrels of alcohol were accounted for. Only 9 were empty. The Mary Celeste was not sinking. She was not broken. She was perfectly sailworthy. So why had everyone left? The sailors of the Dei Grazia stood in disbelief. For them, the ocean was brutal, yes, but abandoning a ship, the safest place at sea, made no sense. It was madness. They towed the Mary Celeste to Gibraltar, where investigators searched for answers. And what they found only deepened the mystery. Theories swirled like storm clouds. Some believed the alcohol cargo leaked fumes, terrifying the crew into thinking the ship might explode. Did Captain Briggs order everyone into the lifeboat temporarily, only for the rope to snap, leaving them adrift as the Mary Celeste sailed away? Others whispered of piracy, but the cargo was untouched. No valuables stolen. Some accused the crew of mutiny, murdering Briggs and his family, then escaping. But why abandon a ship filled with valuable cargo? Still others suggested storms had damaged the vessel, forcing evacuation. Yet the Mary Celeste showed no sign of serious harm. And then came the stranger theories. Sea monsters, waterspouts, even the Bermuda Triangle, though the ship was nowhere near it. Each possibility explained something. None explained everything. But behind the mystery, families grieved. Sarah Briggs' relatives received her last letters, filled with hope and love, now stained with the tragedy of her disappearance. Crewmen's families waited on docks in vain. Children asked when their fathers were coming home. The Mary Celeste had become a ghost ship, and like all ghosts, she carried whispers of secrets the living could not bear. When the Mary Celeste reached Gibraltar, British authorities launched an inquiry. It was led by Attorney General Frederick Solly Flood, a man known for suspicion and arrogance. Solly Flood became convinced the crew of the Dei Grazia were lying. He accused them of conspiracy, murdering Briggs and his people to steal the ship. But no evidence supported the charge. The Mary Celeste's cargo was intact. The crew of the Dei Grazia had gained little from discovery. Still, rumors spread. Newspapers called the ship cursed, its voyage doomed. Sailors whispered that to step aboard her was to invite death. And yet, the Mary Celeste sailed again. She would live on for years, changing owners, drifting across oceans. But her name was forever tainted. No one who sailed her forgot the crew who had vanished without a trace. But what happened that night on the Atlantic? Even now, no one knows for sure. Modern historians and scientists have revisited the case again and again. Alcohol fumes. A sparkless explosion from leaking fumes could have panicked Briggs. Tests suggest such a blast could blow open hatches without leaving fire damage. Did Briggs order evacuation, only to never return? Severe storms. Rogue waves may have flooded the deck, convincing Briggs the ship was doomed. But the Mary Celeste stayed afloat. Human error. Perhaps the captain miscalculated their position, fearing landfall too soon. Yet Briggs was known as careful, precise. Conspiracy. Some argue insurance fraud or foul play, but evidence is thin, almost imagined. Theories rise and fall like the tide. None stay afloat. What we know is simple. 12 souls set sail on the Mary Celeste. Not one returned. If you're still here, subscribe, because stories like this deserve more eyes and more voices. Captain Justice will keep sailing into the mysteries others leave behind. The true tragedy lies not in the ship, but the people. Imagine Sarah Briggs holding her daughter Sophia, calming her as storms raged outside. Imagine the crewmen, hardened by years at sea, whispering fears when they thought no one listened. Imagine Benjamin Briggs, torn between duty to cargo, crew, and family. One choice, to stay or to leave. One rope, snapping in the wind. One boat, drifting away, swallowed by the Atlantic. Families received no closure, no graves to visit, only absence, the cruelest kind of death. For those left behind, the Mary Celeste was not a mystery. It was a wound that never healed. The Mary Celeste's name became legend, Writers, including Arthur Conan Doyle, spun tales of murder and madness aboard her decks. Sailors spoke of curses. She sailed on for years, but her reputation never faded. Eventually, she was wrecked in 1885, deliberately run aground in a failed insurance scam. A pitiful end for a ship already heavy with ghosts. But the mystery of her vanished crew endures. Even today, historians pore over her story. Scientists test theories. Writers imagine horrors. But the sea keeps her secrets. The Mary Celeste remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. A ship that sailed on, but without her people. A ghost drifting across the Atlantic, carrying only questions. Was it panic? Was it betrayal? Was it something stranger? Something the ocean itself swallowed whole? We may never know. But when the waves whisper on stormy nights, perhaps they carry the voices of 12 souls. The crew who vanished. The ship that sailed on. What do you think happened aboard the Mary Celeste? Was it fear, mutiny, or something we still can't explain? Leave your theory in the comments because someone out there knows the truth. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Captain Justice True Stories. Together, we keep these mysteries alive.